All right. Uncle Dave, I just sent you a mic. The mic. You can just accept.
Okay, let me try and see.
I just wish he can just request the mic. We already have too many requests because I think I sent him the mic. I
Good
don't know if he
evening.
picked it up.
Yeah, I'm with you.
Okay, he's here.
Yeah, I'm with you.
He's here. All right. Good evening, Uncle Dele. Welcome to
Good
the
evening,
space.
Aaron.
It's
How are
good
you
to
doing?
have you here. I'm doing great.
Nice to hear.
Good evening, sir. Welcome to the space.
Thank you for having me.
A pleasure.
So, I'm
Over
at
to
your
you.
service and at your mercy.
Yeah, thank you very much, sir. We know you. We are just sitting out of your very tight schedule. We just swing into it so that we don't hold you for more than two. Again, thank you, sir, for coming. I was
We should allow Uncle Dele just have his time then before we start bringing people up. I think that works.
all right. Let's go do that.
Okay. So, what do you guys want me to do? You giving me some time to speak, or you want to fire your questions?
No, please just have your time to speak. Then questions can come after you have
Well,
spoken.
I guess Yorubas have this proverb. They say "Oroma Asorai." That's sometimes the situation explains itself. We're in a season where silence might even be deemed to be criminal, and we're at a point where to be neutral is to have even taken a side. You cannot claim to be neutral and be preaching peace to the oppressed in the situation we are in. So, all in, there is a need to speak with clarity to exactly what it is that the protest is about. There is a need to speak with clarity to exactly what it is that are being sought. These are issues that makes it compelling that one must offer as much help as one is able to muster in this season. So basically, I mean this to make sure that we are clear as to exactly what we are doing, what we seek, and to make sure that as much as possible, insofar as it relates to the protesters themselves, we are clear as to our purpose and clear that we are not interested in violence. This is our country. I went to a university that wasn't particularly glamorous in relation to the kind of buildings. If you went to University of Lagos or you went to then University of Ife now Obafemi Awolowo, or you are one of the first generation universities, you could rightly say that you are great Ife or great UI or great this or great that. I went to LASU. We inherited the compound of the old government college, Ojo. And the one thing that everybody knew LASU for in my season was that we were a very militant student union, but we never broke a single louver blade in the school compound. We were not violent. We were reasonable. There are multiple reasons and grounds for which Nigerians need to be protesting, but it is also extremely important that we explain to our people and we understand ourselves that we are the only ones who lose if we take violence to the protest ground. And as I've said before, I've never heard of anyone protesting, any protesters in Nigeria who set out to be violent. It has always been the state. So this situation compels one to be involved, if only to ensure that there will be no outbreak of violence and that there is a tight grip on the narrative and the state does not get to spin things around, bring violence, and then blame it on the victims. So that's essentially it. Make sure Like everything we do with decorum, and we ensure that we do without losing control of ourselves and of the situation itself. So thank you. I'm happy to take your questions. I think that there is really very little that I'm going to be saying today that I haven't said in the past. So I think it's safer to just
Okay.
take your questions and clarify issues as they come. Thank you.
All right. Thank you very much, Uncle Dele. That I think that works. Or tiso, what? How did it? Please, somebody help me. I know how to
Alright,
speak
so all
Yoruba,
right.
but it's not. Or tiso, all right. So,
Matter don't talk
so
himself.
we just quickly, exactly. So we just quickly take some speakers, and then we hit the ground running. Um. All right. So first, Charlie P, you have the mic, and then we'll take the next speaker after Charlie P. Charlie P, over to you. What question do you have for Uncle Dele Farotimi?
Okay, good evening, everyone. Uncle D, I greet you. Good evening, sir.
Good evening, bro.
Yeah, we've heard, I've heard what you said, but my big question is, the state keeps coming up with the narrative of violence. They keep hijacking, and in those circumstances, people get discouraged. People do not want to put their best foot forward. How do you think we can, reorient ourselves? How do you think, or what do you want to tell the Nigerian people, especially young people, because it's looking as if everything is being hijacked today. The market is being threatened. The big fat lame person in the name of Asari Dokubo is coming out to threaten people. What would you tell young people in less than 48 hours to this protest to do and win back their nation? Yeah.
Okay. Let's be clear about something. Power never gives anything voluntarily. If anyone has been enjoying unjust power for a season, the last thing they want to do is to concede that power or allow that power to be yoked to some form of control that takes away their capacity to do as they have always done. So if anyone was expecting that you would bring this raft of demands and then the government would give us milkshakes and biscuits and say thank you for your consideration and then answer us, such persons are wasting their time. But we have a duty as conscious beings to ensure that we effectively communicate our demands and also ensure that if anyone is going to be blamed for any violence, it will be the state, because we have unequivocally communicated our intentions. Number one, what do we gain by violence? Nothing. The Nigerian state is the sole practitioner of violence, and the other people who carry out violence are people that it has licensed. You just mentioned the fat fool called Asari Dokubo. He is working for the state. The last time I heard of him, he was in the council chamber in the presidency under the coat of arms of the president, indicting the armed forces and abusing them. So if you hear of him being trolled out again now, it is because they require him yet again to threaten the people with violence. So it's always been the state that predicates this violence. But we who seek change, understanding that the state will always bring this violence and then infuse the atmosphere with violence so that people are scared, which is why they will be bringing out people to come to the streets, to the market, to come and be issuing threats. I've seen those videos. At that point, you cannot get tired of ensuring that the duty to maintain peace continues to be placed squarely at the feet of the government and the police. Look, some of you are in the diaspora. You have access to free media that we who are in Nigeria are sorely lacking in. Please beam your searchlight on these anomalies for those of you who are abroad. For those of us who are in Nigeria, never let the duty to provide security shift. In a state where they can provide security for protesters who are protesting the protest, the same policemen as saying that those who are committed to peaceful protest are the ones who are threats to public peace. There is nothing you and I can do to change what the police would say. We can speak from now till tomorrow. The Nigerian police will maintain that posture because the fear of the Nigerians has always been with those who dare to demand to be treated as citizens, which is what you are demanding when you insist on protesting. Those are rights of citizens. So that the police would threaten violence, that they would send thugs into the market, or these are all things that we should always expect would happen. What we can control are the things that are in our own hands. Every other thing are completely outside your control. You can't do anything about those ones. You are going to have to look those situations in the eye, calculate the odds, and do what you can to mitigate. One of the ways you mitigate is to publicly commit to peaceful protest, and then make sure that that message percolates down to the rank and file. No violence. We gain nothing by violence. Be deliberately and decisively pacifist in your outlook and in your posture. It's not a weakness. Sometimes it takes strength to disavow violence. That's the only thing. The Nigerian state would prefer that we came out wielding machetes so that we fight those that they are sending onto the street. That's what they would prefer. They would even they will be very happy to see that. So is it that we're going to have to take a look at the raft of options available for this protest and make sure that the protest becomes dynamic and capable of changing depending on the terrain, but that they are going to welcome us with open hand, or that the police will play fair, is not going to happen. It won't happen. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you very much, sir, for that response. So a follow-up question to that, your response, speaking to having to come to concern ourselves, to explain to ourselves that our protest is peaceful and that it must resonate down there, so that so that we can have evidence that we are committed to peace, even when protest is enshrined in the Constitution as our right. Yeah, sir, are we going out there to rage or to protest?
Thank you very much for that question. I have seen a banner talking about days of rage. I don't know anything about that. I do not prescribe how the oppressed may express his dissatisfaction with his oppressor. It's not my business to prescribe that. But I do know that the last thing I want to do in this season, in the midst of all the madness that the government is promoting, is to now play into their paranoia and then begin to project days of rage. What does rage suggest? Anarchy, chaos. It means I am offering the government valid reasons to be stupid, and they already don't need any excuse to be stupid. The Nigerian police and the army and the government have never required any excuse under the sun to treat the Nigerian as though we are animals. So when I am now saying that I want peaceful protest, why would I queue behind days of rage? I know about end bad governance in Nigeria, and I'll queue behind that every day of the week. Days of rage, that is somebody else's way of showing their dissatisfaction with Nigeria. I'm not going to prescribe how they can do their own thing, but I don't know anything about days of rage. I know about end bad governance in Nigeria.
Thank you very much,
All right.
sir. I will take over to you.
All right, thank you very much. Let's quickly take a lady. NASA, good evening and welcome to the space.
Good evening. Hi, Arawak. Thank you very much for having me. It's an honor to be here with the same in the same space with Dr. Dele. So, a quick one here, Doctor. So my question goes to when it comes to the youth, right? With the light of things happening right now and what we are currently experiencing, you see some of our youth don't fully grasp the
Hello, I can't hear anything. I don't know if you are
Can you hear
hearing
me?
anything.
Oh, Please
Hello.
go down and come back up. Then go down, then we'll bring you back up. Otherwise, Chick will have to prioritize him. I think he was the first to come up. Go ahead.
Yes, please, guys. If peradventure you are not hearing anything, please, I think it will just kindly just go down and come back up. Don't unmute and speak. You kind of interject the person speaking, please. If you're on the speaker session and you're not hearing the speaker, please just go down and come back so that you don't interject. Thank you, Nasa. Continue.
All right, thank you very much. So, as I was saying, in the light of what's going on right now and how serious it is, the whole challenges we are facing when it comes to our economy. Oh, I'm so sorry for the noise. When it comes to our economies and the rest of things, right? And then you see some of our youths not fully understanding the significance of these challenges that we are facing, and the fact that they buy their soul with 1,000 naira, 2,000 naira. Doctor, what would be your advice? What would you advise this some of our youth that don't understand, or maybe chose not to understand the severity of the issue we're facing in this country? And secondly, what steps can you suggest we take in order to bring them to understanding the seriousness of the problem we're facing in this country? Thank you very much.
Well, you keep insisting on dressing me in borrowed robes. The Nigerian law school cured me of every scholarly pretension. After I graduated from the law school, I never took any further exam in my life. All I have is my LLB. I'm not a doctor. Oh. Thank you. Let me just clarify that quickly. Now, to deal with the question itself, you must understand very quickly that the first thing that happens in a feudal system, such as the one Nigeria has evolved, is that ignorance is weaponized, and an ignorant man is doomed to poverty. So the persons to whom you have referred are victims of the system who have been either deliberately miseducated or kept completely ignorant. If they were merely completely ignorant, it would even be easy to deprogram. Is a weaponization of ignorance. You have all kind of lies being fed to them on a daily basis, steady diet of lies by the rhinos of this world, the 23% Baba Suwe. You have Boala. You have all kind of TV stations and newspapers constantly lying to them, influencer and flu victims, telling all kind of lies. They get their news from TVC and The Nation, and those are gospels to them. And when a man is already impoverished in his mind, he cannot even process anything that is beyond what he will eat, what he will drink, where he will sleep. Basic existential things are the only thing he can grapple with. How do you expect him to understand anything beyond the simple thing that his pastors will tell him, or his imam will tell him, or that the foolish idiot who is collecting from the table of impunity will feed to him? So these are people that are already victims of the system. They have had poverty weaponized against them. They've had ignorance weaponized against them, and religion has already conditioned them to accept their lot. So the solution rather, answers the second part of your question. The difference between a riot and a revolution is that in a revolution, the people understand the purpose. In a riot, the people do not understand the purpose. You who knows the purpose, you now have duties to explain. You have to be patient with them. Sometimes you have to go beyond the fact that you know does not mean everybody knows. But the knowledge you have confers a duty to educate on you, because it is a very dark place. People have been deliberately rendered stupefied and as idiots by a system that prefers that they are stupid. So if you are caused with knowledge, which is why you are here right now, and which is why you are asking the question, you then have a duty. In order for you to be free, you have to free them. So you become as Moses to them. You have to explain the issues to them. A lot of them do not even understand the issues. They think solely in terms of ethnicity, in terms of religion. That's all they think. So you have a duty. There is no shortcut. There is no easy way. Only knowledge frees us with peace. Without knowledge, you will end up dissolving into a civil war that makes no sense. People who should be together will be fighting and killing each other. I hope I've answered you, sis. You have a lot of work in front of all of you.
Yes, so it's very serious work. Thank you very much for that answer, Uncle Dia. All right, so moving quickly, Olawale, over to you. Olawale, are you there?
I'm here. Hello. Good evening.
Okay, please ask your question.
My question is this. What what do you think we can do in a situation whereby, because before the NSAS issue that happened, the protest was peaceful and there was no any violence or anything. So what do you think should be our reaction in case of any family when, for instance, the protester is killed, not because we attack, not because when we go for the protest we attack them. They are the ones that attack us. So are we not going to retaliate, or because it's because we said that it should be peaceful, we want it to be peaceful, but a situation whereby we are now attacked, one of us is attacked, and are we not going to react to this? So that is my question. Thank you.
Well, I did have a lot of difficulties in hearing you clearly, but I did hear the part where you appear to be asking what our response should be in case we are attacked, since the government has a history of attacking peaceful protesters. Well, I hope I framed the question right, because that's what I believe I heard you.
Yes, that is what
Okay.
he asked.
All right. So here is the thing. I am solely responsible for my own actions. I have no responsibility whatsoever for your action. We as a collective have taken a decision that we're protesting, but we are doing so peacefully. That decision to be peaceful is informed by two principal facts, in my own opinion. The first is that you don't even have the capacity to match the state for violence, whether that be the ones who are already licensed to be violent or those the state has licensed surreptitiously, like Asari Dokubo or MC Mushroom Pikin, or the ones that they are euphemistically referring to as Oro. You can't match them for violence. You are not looking to fight anybody. None of us are violent persons. So already, the reality is that you are not equipped in any way, shape, or form to go and be matching them for violence. What we do as countermeasures, either to prevent the violence or in response to the violence, those are issues I believe should be resolved by those who will map out the strategies for the protest. Not every protest must take place on the street. Not every protest must take place where it's expected to take place. We look at the objective reality on the ground and then respond on the basis of those realities. But if you are talking retaliate, somebody is carrying an M16 rifle or an AK-49 or 47 with multiple rounds. Me, retired lawyer, or you, probably a student or an unemployed graduate, or just an average Nigerian, another victim of the system, they now start their shooting as they usually do. What are we to do? Are we going to be using catapult, or we too will go and find Kalashnikov? So my own response to the question you've asked really is that it will be up to those charged with monitoring and organizing the protest to factor all these into their thinking and then come up with strategies that limit the opportunities for the state to carry out his mischief. That's about the only thing we can do in the circumstances. Thank you.
Thank you very much. All right, Ambassador Israel, please ask your question
All right.
quickly so that
Thank you so
we
much,
get
Arewa
more
Chief.
people to speak.
My greetings to Barrister. Thank you for your wealth of wisdom. Just a simple one. As you rightly said, of course, the government have history of, sponsoring counter protests, which in turn, leads to more violence. So I would want to ask your opinion as a legal juggernaut to what are the legal protections that are in place for protesters, and how can they ensure that their safety and well-being during the protests? Because a lot of people are already tensed because, of course, they know what government are capable of doing. So I would really take on this. Thank you so much.
Well, one of the things you can take for granted is that I'm not going to, as they will say proverbially, bullshit you. Pardon my French. You don't have any legal protection in Nigeria. Maybe let me say that again so that it will sink in. You have no legal protection in Nigeria. I'm not suggesting that there aren't copious laws saying that you have the right of protest. The police, if anything, should provide security. Yeah. But the reality, as you have seen on a daily basis, in our daily experiences as Nigerians, is that the Nigerian state can be counted upon to do the exact opposite of what it is expected to do. But all this is not to suggest that we are without options. One of the things that I have noticed is that the Nigerian state hates the truth, and they hate the truth being placed in the public space. One of the many things we can do in this season is invest in drone technology to ensure that to a very large extent record what they are doing and make sure that they know that we are recording what they are doing. And that should to a very large extent curb their excesses. But to think that they won't do their thing or to imagine that there are some legal protections, sorry, the reality is that there are none in this country. Don't let's fool ourselves. Thank you.
All right. Thank you very much for that response. Ibrahim Bello. Ibrahim Bello, are you there? Okay. Okay, Jimmy, over to you. Ibrahim Bello, we can't hear you. You might need to go down and come back.
Okay, good evening. Good evening, Nigerians. Mine is a general question. I don't know if our guest will have an answer for it or the host. I've seen I've seen different demands as objective of the protest. So I want to ask if we have a unified demand, just in case the government decides to listen. What exactly will they be addressing? I've seen the one that says fuel should go to 100 naira. I've seen the one that said it should go to 300, and different options here and there. So do we have something central that the government can address just in case they will be ready to address in the middle of the protest? Thank you.
Well, what I can say, I'm sure Arewachik might have something to say to this or some other person, but what I can tell you is this. To expect uniformity of demands might be a little difficult. You have a situation where people have different ideas as to exactly what should be demanded. That's one. Another thing is that there are also perhaps different perspectives to the protest itself. So it's not, if the government is serious about addressing the issue, even if somebody says we want 100, another one says we want 300, another one says maybe we want 165, I would imagine that everybody is saying reduce the price. The more the merrier. If the government takes on the idea of reduce the price, then they sit down and then review the price. It's not for us to provide a unified demand. It is up to the government to harmonize the issues. The important thing is that the citizens have come out, quote and unquote, citizen, to say that this state of affair is not acceptable. Whether it's the person who is saying go to 100, whether it's the person saying 165 or the person saying 300, if they took one of the three recommendations, I'm sure one or all three of the factors would be very happy with the government. So I don't think we should allow it's not in our control. We can only speak to what we may put forward. There are other people who have put forward other proposals. And their proposals should be treated with all seriousness, just as much as the ones we have put forward as well. So if we can have common ground, fine. If we can't have common ground, nothing bad. There is nothing they want that we don't want. There is nothing we want that they don't want. So I don't see any problem there. That's my own view.
I share the same view with you, Uncle Dele. I share the same view. As
Okay.
long as we all demanding for something that is we collectively want, I think that settles it. Velele.
Yeah, I just wanted to add in that, one of the things this protest is hoping to address is the fact that this government and several other governments before are not speaking to the people. If they are saying that 100 naira is unreasonable, they need to come out and explain why and say, okay, it's not reasonable because of this, that. And then in that explanation, they should also justify why they are wasting money buying jets and buying planes when that is not unreasonable. So it's more about communication, right? If there was communication between the ruling class and the people that are being ruled, we won't even be in this situation. If there was a justification that we can clearly see. That's what I wanted to add there. Thank you.
All right, thank you very much, Velele. All right, so Moyo, over to you. Moyo.
Yeah.
Paul,
Can you hear
are
me?
you there?
No, I think
Paul,
yeah. Let me quickly say, I want to quickly add to my questions. Let me ask this from Uncle DF. Uncle DF, please. We go out there, but before then, right now, we constantly have been stopped with fear, and it is the reverse, which in a democratic settings is abnormal. But now we are going out there. What would you say, sir, if we go out there and achieve all of the demands that we are going out with, short term or long term? If the government shifts ground and responds to us, would you have said that from that day, the people of Nigeria are taking back their power if they can sustain that mobilization?
Well, eternal vigilance is the price you pay for freedom. Because we won, at least we thought we won democracy when Abacha died. We went to sleep. Today we know better. We don't have a democracy. That's the reality. This protest and any future one that the totality of our problem is that our country eternally vigilant to ensure that we do not find we the people did not write constitution, but we the people are the ones who have been enslaved by the constitution that we did not write. We need to be careful.
Thank you very much for that. Thank you very much for that.
Thank you very much. Now,
Yes, please.
Moyo.
Apologies. Can you hear me?
Yes,
Good.
please. Ask your question,
Good evening,
please.
everybody. Thank you very much for this space. I love when Uncle Dele said it's not all protests that should or that may be straight. You know, I love that. What I want to say is as regards where the northern Nigeria, talking about Kaduna, Katsina, Zamfara, and I love the fact that Bello is here listening to what I'm saying. A protest in this part of my own background, because of the kind of job I do, a protest in this kind of location where you have a society that has ravaged with insecurity for the past 1 decade. You know, we have some actors domiciled in the forest, in the use that word, that have been looking for advantage, they have been looking for opportunity to be able to get into the society. Now, a protest in a place like Kaduna, Zamfara, and Katsina. I know for Abuja, I don't fear for any other part of the country apart from the likes of Hypo and the rest of them. Now, these people have been looking.
Sorry, Moyo.
Yes, please.
Moyo, please, can you just ask your question?
Yes, I'm going there before you stop to me.
Just ask your question because you're taking too much long track. So that
now, what I'm asking, is, can we think of a method to hold this protest in this part of the country where
I was going to say that I would believe that that is something those who are involved in the planning and operation of the protest should deal with. It shouldn't be a subject for the space, if you ask me. I always, for instance, can't tell you what the plan for the protest might be, but I would imagine that the people who have been charged with the responsibility for that will disseminate the information at the appropriate time. So if they are not thinking about it already, what
Okay, so I actually looked at thank you for what you said, sir, but I actually looked at this question from a different angle. And this is because this protest is organic and there are no really real quote unquote organizers, right? Everything is happening in a decentralized fashion. So what I wanted to say to him, and I can't find him up here again, is people who are in certain locations, like Uncle Dele Farotimi mentioned, you know how to protest best in your area. Now, if you feel as though the method of protest that is being used all over the country would not location, again, this is not me telling you what to do. This is me telling you what I could do in that particular situation. Having very solid background knowledge of here, right? I'll look for another way to register my grievances to the government to show the government my displeasure with what they are doing. Like Uncle mentioned, there are various ways for someone to work a peaceful protest. So I would weigh in what the factors in my environment, and then I'll use what I have at hand to make sure I register my displeasure with the government on the day. Thank you.
okay, Velele, to add to that, for someone who is also from the north, I think going by the way Moyo put it, I quite disagree with him, and the reason that, in fact, that the region, especially the northern region, that is even more prone to insecurity, that has prevented people to go about their daily lives as normal, that have displaced people and made them either to be living in an IDP camps that have made not, the fact still remains that place is completely ravished with insecurity. And you would also believe that their protesting is something that is inevitable, because I think it's something that by now you should have been aware of the situation of the North right now. There is people or in thousands, and you tell me that they shouldn't protest or they should find another way to protest. This same government who is supposed to protect lives and properties have what it takes. They have the intelligence. Yourself some very tough questions. So for me, that's Moyo. I don't know if you're from the North, but I doubt if you're from the North. Probably you just reside in the North, and probably you're just either not you kind of sound to me like somebody who is anti-protest, but it's fine. It's your opinion. Nobody is forcing anybody. But then the North is even where the protest is supposed to be, so that the security operators actually do their jobs of protecting lives and properties for a region that has that has the kind of resources it has. It's not supposed to be ravished in poverty and insecurity. Do you also believe that that is why we have problems of food scarcity? Because majority of the farmers there cannot access their farms. So you tell me they are not supposed to be hitting the street, or they should look for a special way to hit the street, or die na die. I think it's best they hit the street so that the government actually do something once and for all. Thank you. All right, so moving to the next speaker, Khalid.
Thank you very much. Good evening, everyone. I start from a wisdom point of view, but then someone just came up, and that was why I requested the mic. Point of worry. He's speaking from a point of a northerner. He's speaking from a point of people in Kaduna, Katsina, Zamfara, and all these states. Because if he's actually from there, or he's speaking from there, I as he was speaking, I went to check his account before I missed him. I saw his 2024 account. I think he has like 7 followers. So these are basically just people that create accounts to come on these spaces and tell us things that are not proper, things that are not right, so that they misguide people. So their patients have run away. Their patients have finished. They went from listening anonymous listening. Now they are coming live to be bringing all these submissions that are not valid. So if anything, but
All right. Do you have a question for Dele Farotimi?
no, I just wanted to respond to what that guy said.
Do you have a question?
No, I don't have a question.
Okay. Okay. Please, 1 minute so that we'll move the mic, please, because we need we can't keep him waiting. 1 minute. Round up, please.
All right. So if anything, I don't think there is any part of the country that is more motivated than the northern region, because I think all these issues plus extra ones are going down in the north, and we are very, very motivated. And those people, this guy is speaking about, they are there in the bushes. Now we are protesting. Okay, let the bandits come and pick us and pick the House of Assembly members and pick everyone. If that is fair. So I think I'll round up and I'll yield.
All right, thank you very much, Kali.
I know some people are listening, but I just want to ask, do you have like a group of colleagues, learned colleagues like yourself that speaks the truth that would assist in this organized protest, so that our people can be secure? Because I sense a lot of, been reading a lot and I've been seeing a lot of videos that can help to ensure that if anything happens, our people out there, those of us that are going to be protesting, will get help. That's my question, sir. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Amara. But before I answer you, I would like to thank Engineer Khalid. You know, a lot of people don't appear to understand exactly why this government is panicking about this protest. The government is not worried about me and you in Lagos. They've always learned how to deal with us. They simply kill a few of us and then the thing will die down, because they would have assured the North that the Haram and it has not to do with them, and that they should be careful not to allow those Yamiri and the Yoruba don't let them divide the country. And they've always played these games of divide over the years. And those of you who are familiar with my works, you would have heard me say multiple times that until the North is ready, there can never be any change or revolution in Nigeria. That is what is propelling the fears that you are seeing from the government. It is about the North coming to the streets, not those of us in the South that worries them. Those of us in the South, they've already understood the package. They will bribe the few that they will bribe. They will mobilize the idiots that they will mobilize, and then they'll matter a few of us, and then they'll speak Dogon Trenchy, and they can count on the press and the religious dealers to join them. Immediately after that, the government destroyed the solidarity across the country, made sure they used religion and ethnicity to make sure that we never sank from the same hymn sheet. So understand it clearly and listen very carefully to what Engineer Khalid is telling you, and also understand why you must be careful with your messaging about this protest. This protest is not about any days of rage. We are not interested in removing a president, even if he has fraudulently brought himself to power. Our interest is in changing our country, is not in destroying our country. We must be careful to hone this message and put it across, because those are the kind of divisive messages that they are using to try to make sure that the northern people do not come to the street. That's the messages the mullahs have been mobilized to preach in mosques. So we must be careful not allow them to narrative from us. It's a Nigerian phenomenon called hunger that is marching people to the streets. And these people do not have guns. They have no interest in violence. They must be careful to keep reiterating this. We might be angry, but we are not raging. We merely seek a change. So thank you very much, Engineer Khalid. It was particularly important that I should acknowledge you and thank you. Now, Amara, you see, the reality is that at any point in time, all you can do is control the thing that is in your own hand. That's the only thing that you can ever do. You can't do anything about something that is outside of your control. We are in an environment where, at the end of the day, the only thing that we can speak to with any definitive certainty are the things that we can do. What can we do here? We can go out. We can peacefully express our dissatisfaction with the system that we found ourselves living with. There are multiples of options that are open to us in expressing this, but that's all we can do. but we are not without options. I'm not sure if I got your question completely or if I need to take it again, but that's the sense I get that is all we can do in this situation.
All right, thank you very much. Let's move to the next speaker. Okay, let's take. All right.
No, Paul is going next, please. He has been here since.
Hello, good evening, everyone. Good evening, Mr. Dele, and thanks for the
Please, can you be
opportunity.
audible, please, Paul?
Yeah, good evening, everyone. Can you hear me now?
Yes,
It's
please.
better.
Straight to the question, please.
All right, good evening, Mr. Dele. My question is, if we ever get to the negotiation part with the government, how reasonable would it be to include requesting a law to be passed by the House of Assembly to pass the death penalty for all electoral frauds, especially electoral officers, by passing known laws? Using the last election as an example, how reasonable would it be to add that as a major demand? I know
You
hunger
know,
is more of
you know,
the concern of a lot of
the
persons, but
temptation is always to think that the more draconian the punishment, the more likely the compliance. But experience has taught me that in Nigeria, it is not about the paucity of laws. It is about the absence of the will to let that law rule. Nobody has been charged under the current laws. So it's not as if we've tried it and it didn't work. It's simply that nobody cares to hold people accountable. So it's not, I wouldn't support capital punishment for electoral offenses. It is grievous, yes, but how many people we won't kill? If you would enforce the basic clause that we have today that recommends fines and imprisonment, people will stop doing it. It is the knowledge that nothing will happen. Do you remember the Adamawa case? The resident electoral commissioner in Adamawa? I'm sure you remember that story. They all know that nothing will happen. It is the knowledge that impunity applies that allows these crimes to fester. Something is only a crime when there will be punishment. When there are no punishment, why would you still call it a crime? So we have normalized electoral malfeasance. It is normal. You hear people in public office confessing openly to rigging elections. They don't hide it any longer. They open their mouth on national TV to admit to it. There is no shame, no consequence. So it's not about saying that there should be capital punishment. That wouldn't resolve anything. Capital punishment resolves nothing. It doesn't even stop murder. It hasn't erased drug trafficking and in any part of the world, talk less of our own, where drug traffickers are sat in palaces. So at the end of the day, you must understand that it's about enforce the rules you even have first. And then if you now believe that it's not sufficient deterrence, you can now start talking about aggravating the punishment. But this is a situation where we don't even have any form of enforcement for the existing rules.
Thank you very much, sir. Thank you so very much, sir. Arewa, who is best?
Yeah. Okay, so let's just take Jaran, then we take Prince after German. Let's keep our questions very short, please. Thank you.
Okay. Good evening, everybody. Good evening, Uncle Dele. Can you hear me clearly, everyone?
Loud and
okay, Uncle Dele, I was privileged to be with you in Lekki Phase 1 3 days after INSAS. I'm the guy that was controlling the sand in Lekki Toll Gate. Uncle Dele, I want to say this. This is my question, and this is what I want to do. I've not recovered since INSAS, and that's my anger. That's why I'm protesting. I want to say, the only reason why the government paid attention to everyone everyone in NSAS or in Lekito Gate because that's where they were making money from. And that's what got their action. Uncle Dele, if we don't get it right this time, we can never get it again. I don't want to say it in the space, but I know where I'm going to block this time. If I'm wrong, tell me I'm wrong, because I'm going to block somewhere that will attract the government again and to be international. Thank you very much.
Bros, first of all, let's get something clear. The government has a monopoly of violence. Do not do something that justifies the deployment of violence towards you. One of the ways that I have found to deal with violent persons in visiting violence upon my person I am of the firm opinion that we should be careful not to engage in what have been openly and clearly communicated, as I expect that will be the case. Please let us be careful not to give government and its sympathizers the justification
Want to appreciate you. You have really to me has clearly shown to us that they are meant in power. And if there's any failed protest, to me, are the security agencies who ought to do the right things, that clearly want it to be violence or who want to take sides with those people who are threatening the citizens from protesting. Why do I say this, sir? They have come out in Lagos State, in all various areas, both the ones that they are issuing open threat with loudspeakers, with DJs. People should not come out. If you come out, whatever you see, you will take. Oro that I don't know what is doing, Oro want to take place. All what I'm trying to portray is this. I perceive that what they might likely do, or what is that when you come out, they will allow the talks to attack
Prince G,
innocent
Prince
people.
G, Prince
Yes,
G,
yes.
Prince G.
Yeah.
Please, can you just ask your question because you're making a submission? Please ask your question straight to the question, please. Thank you.
Thank you. So my question is this. What are the systematic ways the non
Is it just
Velele, can
me?
you hear him?
who
Is
are
it
not
just me?
I
government
can't
should
hear
Or
you.
listen? Can you hear
okay,
me
it's back, it's back.
please?
Yeah, please
Can
come back with your
you,
question again.
can you hear
Come
me?
back with your question. You got cut off.
Yes, can you hear me? Can you
Yes,
hear me? Yeah, okay,
we
me. Can
can
you hear
hear
me
you
now?
we
now.
can hear
We can
you.
hear you now.
Okay. Okay, now, what can the legitimate citizens who have the right to protest that they are being barred from all these political enemy now, what can they do for them to be protected against
It's lost in
these talks
translation
and
again.
hoodlums? What can they do, sir? What can they do for them to be protected
Oh,
against
all
these
right, Prince.
hoodlums
All right,
and talk?
Prince. All right, Prince. Let me relay your because he couldn't hear you.
Yeah,
Let me relay your.
I got it by the time he concluded. So
Oh, all right.
let's be clear about something. Sometimes we magnify the enemy beyond their sizes. The first thing a snake will do is to rear up his end so that it increases his own height in order to tell you how big it is. If a cock is going to fight, he'll raise his hackles in order to convince his opponent that it is bigger than it is. The government is not bigger than the people. The totality of the numbers that they can pay to mobilize onto the streets in the whole of Lagos State cannot be up to 1,000. The question is, how many people have you mobilized to come to the streets in Lagos State? That is one. The second thing is the people that you expect to bring to the streets. Have you told them why? Have you explained to them? Have you also let them know the importance of the absolute importance of them remaining peaceful when they come out to exercise their God-given rights? Let us be clear about something. You are not responsible for what the state would do. You are solely responsible for what you would do. So if somebody is threatening violence, no problem. There are countermeasures. Put drones in the sky. Let's shame them. Let the world see the Nigerian police escorting thugs. We did it during the NSAS thing. There were multiple videos in the social media space recording the excesses of government varying thugs up and down the place. NSAS should have taught us to become smarter at recording those kind of events. You cannot be responsible for what they would do, but you can predict what they would do because they are unintelligent and they always do the same thing. They will always respond with violence. Once you know that, prepare for it, but you can't stop them. And you have no response in violence. So once you know you don't have any response in violence, maybe you should focus on helping our northern brothers against whom they will be less inclined to deploy violence. Maybe we should help our northern brothers to be fully part of this protest so that when they see that it is truly national in nature and they have not managed to separate us across the country, they too will address the issue. Tinubu is the president. We can't do anything about it. He's there until 2027 unless it pleases God to take him. And God can take any one of us. I'm not wishing him death as much as I don't want him there. We can focus on what comes in 2027, but this is now. Now, who they are alive, they vote for 2027. Let us deal with living first in this time and in this season. But if we conflate our demands in a manner that legitimizes the use of force and violence, because the state already wants to use it anyway. So it's up to us, really. They have their violent thing. They'll do what they will. They'll do their own. We'll do our own. You remember that famous joke? Madam came to Oga. Say, Oga, they say, our maid says she's pregnant. He said, that's her problem. But she says it's your own. He said, that's my problem. And so what do you want me to do? That's your problem. So everybody in this situation have their own problem. Let's identify our own and deal with solving them. We cannot stop the government from being stupid. It's their want to be stupid. It is up to us, though, to mitigate. That's in our hand, and that's what we should focus on. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Uncle Dele. Mr. Stephen.
Thank you, Ariwachi. Uncle Dele, another pleasure to be on the space with you. Value your voice. Please keep speaking, and the way
Yeah,
you
Mr. Stephen, please give me a few seconds. Let me just interject for a bit. Iowa, please check your DMs. Mr. Stephen, you can carry on.
Yes, I was
Please
saying,
go
Uncle
ahead.
Dele, thank you so much. Many of us wake up to your timeline and your YouTube channel just to hear from you. You are a source of inspiration. Please, sir, keep speaking. I just wanted to piggyback on what I'm seeing, the triangle, like called the triangle of control, which is the 1%, which is the elected officials, the religious bodies, as well as traditional rulers, and the billionaire class, or which I call the 1% class. The way they've united at this anti-protest, even people like Wike, which are one of the most people I detest the most, Asari Dokuba and the likes, who do not fear the citizens. What do we do, Uncle Dele, in your opinion? Because I've seen what happened in Kenya, even now in Venezuela. There's always a civil society group, the majority of the people that do not benefit, that bear the brunt of this 1% control. They are united, but in Nigeria, we don't have that. How do we begin to organize ourselves in a way that this 1% would fear the 99%? Because it is ironic that these people, less than 1,000 of them, have put their feet on our necks, and we're 200 billion strong. What do we do to better organize so that they will fear the people? Because democracy is indeed a people, but they don't fear us. Wicked doesn't fear anybody. It infuriates me every day. Thank you, sir.
You know, let's see. Here is the thing. Why should you fear those you buy cheaply? They have impoverished the people. I've seen videos of people being given 5,000 naira to come and carry placard against protests. That is the extent of weaponized poverty that has been unleashed.
Sorry, Uncle Dele. Some people were paid 1,000 yesterday.
There you go. That's the extent of poverty. In Yoruba land, the proudest people in Yoruba land once upon a time were the Ekiti and the Ondos. But it was in Ekiti State that they evolved the theory of the Bosebe, which means vote and cook a pot of soup. So they sold their vote for a pot of soup. That was the first place it was evolved. Dibo Sebe. That is the extent of what poverty has done in rendering our people dehumanized. So, to answer your question, those of you who know, you need to get off social media and understand that every revolution is like an onion. You peel it layer by layer. This is one layer of it. Go out there, explain to the people what the issues are. Let them know. It is only when they know and understand the issues that they can stand for themselves. If they understand the true effect, look, recently I took a decision to be recording at least once a week in Yoruba because I realized that I'm tired of talking to the likes of you. Everything I need to say to you, I've already said, but who is speaking to Waidi the carpenter? Who is talking to Yakudi in the market? Who is speaking with Kunle, the conductor? Do you understand? We need to understand that these are our middle class bubble. We need to come out of it and begin to speak. Come out of your bubble, your cocoons, where you are speaking in your silos. The person you call bat idiot, and I'm famous for calling them so myself, but the ones that are willing to listen, I still try to help them to see reason. The Baptists used to be, some of my best friends were Baptists, so I don't lock the door against anyone. If you are comfortable with your own ideology, if you are comfortable in your skin and you are not fickle and available for purchase, you would not be afraid of dealing with people who have contrary opinions to your own. And this is what I urge on all of you. Get out there and start talking to others. Let them understand the issue. Help them. They don't know. Most of the time, they don't know. They just pretend to know. They are largely ignorant. Some people are certificated idiots. They actually went to university to become idiots. Some are doctorate degree holders. Some are professors, but they are idiots. Innocent idiots. So please, take it upon yourself. Educate them. It's the only way you can unite yourself. It's only when you have common purposes that you can unite. Thank you.
Otherwise, if you wouldn't mind,
Thank you very much. Okay,
let
no
me just
problem.
chime in real quick because while Uncle DF was giving eulogy about our past, I didn't know he was going to end up in tears for me. We are now the pathfinder for the Bosebe. Where I'm from Ekiti State, I would have taken that as an insult on a different premise, but since issue it has happened. Let's go ahead. But I will take a pound. I will take a pound to the question though. If you look into these demands, because I've looked into them. There are some that are short term. There are some that are long term. I'll weave two questions into one. This short term, we can be there and they are achieved. But this long term, how do we commit these ruinous system to acknowledging and responding in record time. Two, should they, they don't possess that capacity to hold themselves back. I mean, the oppressors now. Should they respond in brutality and maim or take a life? Sir, it means because on that demand, there is a pinned demand that says, should you cross this line, it will change and it becomes a Tinubu must go. So, sir, can you take us through that process when it becomes, when the tone of the protest will hypothetically change?
Let me say this. The bulk of my work when I was lawyer was done negotiating. And one of the things you don't do in negotiation is to enter any negotiation with bad faith. The Nigerian government is notoriously evil. But if we commit to a process of negotiation, we must be willing to presume goodwill to the other side. That in concentric circles, just the same way your onions or your lettuce occurs in layers. If I have said that one part must be achieved within a set time frame, and the second part, they are afforded time running into a few months. It simply means that you are presuming goodwill to persons who have not earned it, and they have demonstrably not earned any right to presume goodwill to them. However, it is up to them to now that they cannot be trusted even when you have openly demonstrated goodwill and good faith in a place where two have been presumed. So you cannot take away the presumption of good faith to them. When they now fail, the same we who would have managed to come to the street to compel the concession of the ones that are immediately achievable, I don't believe that anything will stop us from coming back as quickly as we need to come back once the deadline is passed. But to answer the second part of your question, what if the government does something to escalate? Well, you do not issue timelines in the sand if you are unwilling to back it up with action. If we have said very clearly that the loss of any life due to police brutality would occasion a change in the tenor of the protest, we must be willing to follow through on that very clearly. But we must also ensure, and I say this with all sense of responsibility, we must ensure that we do not offer them any excuse. Let me leave that, because they are part of these questions that are very sensitive and we must be careful how we deal with it in the public space as well. But the onus to be as peaceful as we can be, it is now up to the government.
Get it so bad that the government is now limiting the rights of the citizens. I've seen town criers in Lagos saying that people should not come out to protest. And then the second question is, based on your prediction, at
it will be up to me and you. But that when and stop deluding yourself into assuming. Maybe you live abroad and because they are reading you your rights, Miranda rights in America and the UK, it's not the same here. Police will kill you, nothing will happen, even when you are not protesting. So let's be clear about that so that we do not fool ourselves. We are not citizens. That's as far as that one is concerned. My brother, we not me and you will not be citizens. Sorry. I just said to let that one sink. We are not citizens.
We are more of like an illegal occupant.
No, you are subjects. You are subjects.
So slaves
I call,
Well,
in
not
our
I
own
call us
completely.
country.
They
dwellers.
pretend. At least they vote on our behalf. They pretend that we have the right of vote.
Okay. Kunle Phillips.
Yo, Baba. Unfortunately, I didn't put my photo up, but I met you in London when you came with Dati, and I was telling you to run for Senate. He said, "Nah, you can never enter that place." I don't know if you remember that exchange in London, but anyway, you're a gem, and you're a fantastic asset to Nigerian society. And, thank you for coming today. What you just said, I think it bears repeating. None of us is seen as a citizen in that Niger. We really are subjects. I think what just happened was the British. It was clear that we were a colony. They handed over to what they told us were colonial master still wears the sweater with us and still looks back like us. That's what has happened. So people better make no mistake. I think my own prayer is that the casualties will be minimal. But they are going to try and use force. It just bears repeating that we shouldn't give them any excuse. Let it be like that unfortunate 20th of October 2020, where people were actually doing nothing but waving Nigerian flags. And they killed young people for nothing, for no reason. I still get a lump in my throat from when I see
Mr. Kunle, I'm sorry to interrupt, though, but the space is actually for us to act on Dele questions. So please, if you could maybe cut your submission short and just ask him the question.
Dele, good evening, sir. I'm one of your biggest fans. I want to quickly ask a question. We, as Nigerians, we understand that we are not citizens, but obviously we are still operating under a so-called constitution. And I understand that, I mean, a lot of things happens in Nigeria that if we don't do something about it, then our situation is even get worse. So let me talk about the issue of us having any legal backing.
Please,
People
can you
like
just ask the question? Please
Yes,
ask your
please,
yes.
question,
please.
please.
Answer this, yeah.
So
Please,
okay,
the time is we don't have enough
my
time.
question is: are we saying that the protesters going out there should have in mind that no matter what happens to them, there is no legal
Velele, can you hear him?
reprieve
Because I can't.
for
Yes,
Nigerians
I
that are
can.
going
Yes, I
out?
can. I can.
I
Sorry, go
actually
ahead.
can.
Go ahead, please. Go ahead.
I can't hear him.
let me repeat this question.
Okay.
Mr. Anthony, thank you very much. Uncle Dele, this is his question. It says, because the other time you answered one
From it. I belong to a coalition known as Ramimba. That's the Radical Agenda. Yes. It is not as though we do not pretend to the Constitution, even though it's not me and you who are to pretend. I say that we are not citizens. It is just the reality that I am speaking to. I hope I've answered your question. I think that's about it. I just wanted us to know, not that we are without.
DSS have been picking up. They've also enjoined legal services pro bono from people who actually support the end bar governance protest. So there is so much legal backing both in the north, the south, the east. So for anybody coming out, as long as we know that you are picked unjustly and you are part of the protesters, peaceful protesters, you have legal backing. If you're picked, you definitely get a lawyer to, bring you out from there.
For protesters, numbers for the lawyers nationwide will make them available before the day.
Yeah. All right. Thank you very much, Uncle Dele. So, Kola Wole.
Please, before you carry on, I want to mention that Uncle Delo was supposed to be here with us for I think 60 minutes or so. We are 10 minutes to go. So please, if you have questions that you like him to address, you can use the format I put up on the Jumbotron, right? Hashtag X to me, and then you tag him. I know he loves to write, and possibly on one of his mornings he can, get to it. We have a lot of requests, and I don't think we'll get to it before he has to retire for the
I
night.
have just
Thank you.
done 1 9. If I'm supposed to be
All
doing
right.
60 minutes,
Thank you.
it's the
Can
60
I just
minutes
quickly
not up
make my
already.
submission? I've been waiting here for
420
ages.
minus 1.
Thank you. Thank you, Mr.
Thank
Ade.
you very much,
Thank you for
Uncle
what you do.
Dele. All
Uh,
right. So, Kola
can I,
Wole, over to you, please. If you know that the question you have been answered or talked about, please, there's no point repeating the same questions, please. I beg. Kola Wole, over to you.
hello, can you hear me?
Yes, please.
Federal reform. All right. And those are the 2 points. Thank you.
Electoral. So I believe that is already well captured in the list of demand. In fact, every list of demand I have seen has electoral reform front and center. Exactly what we want to see. I also believe that initiative should also be with those in the diaspora who also know that they have one thing or the other to contribute. But more than anything else, we need you to use your freedom that you have in the spaces where you are to help those of us who are here and cannot speak once they decide to choke up the space. Thank you.
All right, Joe Obedient.
Okay, good evening,
Okay,
Egbon.
so Joe Biden, please, Joe Biden, please, before you carry on, I just want to confirm that Uncle Dele is happy to carry on, right? I've been getting some messages from concerned Nigerian citizens who are worried for his health. So, Uncle, please, do you want to stay with us for a bit longer, just so we know before we carry on? I don't know if Uncle can hear me. Is he still there? Can anyone hear me?
Okay.
Loud and clear.
Okay, I just want to confirm if he's happy to carry on staying with us. Because
I can hear you. I'll be here until 7:30 and then I'll leave.
Thank you so much, sir. Joe Biden, have the mic. Thank you.
Okay. So, Egbon, good evening.
Good evening.
Commands are out. A few of the most of the demands are out and a bit scattered, but you said it to be hopefully a unified list will probably come outside, or somebody said that. I don't know who. I am asking, one, are some of the ones that are out there, people have been complaining that some are outrageous. An example is end hunger and then bring petrol to 100 naira. What's your view on that? Then there are some that seem to need constitutional amendments. Is it possible with citizens' actions to get those things to happen? I know there are some things that needed majority of the states and stuff like that, legal terms. Would that be possible on a short term? Would those be possible on a short term?
In about 3 different lists, I know that I am involved with one, but what I'll tell you is this: even if there were 5 different lists, even if the demands are perfectly entitled to make those demands, it's up to the government to, and you cannot dictate to government offer something, and then we'll take it from there. Do you understand? So I'm thinking that really it is up to government to all the better for everybody concerned. But if it cannot be harmonized, I don't think we should also worry our heads too much. Let the government cherry pick. I got that. Oh, yes. Now, the thing about those ones is that if you look at the list that I know of, constitutional in nature, but the second part gives the government more than enough time. They change the national anthem in 24 hours or thereabouts. Yeah, it's about deal that might be lacking. The
Yeah, so
opportunity to say
your
my
uncle, please, please.
I'm happy to.
Yes, it's 3 minutes. Yes, please, Uncle.
Exactly. That's what I
You've done
came
all
to
that
do. I just to carry
extra.
my uncle out of the space, please. He's taking enough of his time.
Yes,
Thank you
please.
Harry,
very much,
calm
guys.
down. Calm down.
You can imagine how he's trying to be voice for the voiceless. Uncle, please give us closing remarks. Thank you so much for blessing us
Well,
this evening.
let me say this. Regardless of the machination of the state or the amount of noise that they would make, even as they seek to project fear, we must be very careful not to allow those fears to be received in our spirit. We have not asked for anything that we are not entitled to. Let's be clear about that. And it is our right, whether they recognize it or not. When I say we are not citizens, I'm dealing in a feudal system, or are we going to find the grace to become responsible citizens of a great country? Whether that will happen in the mask is also tiring. What you are seeing is they are scared. But do you know that the most dangerous armed robber is the one that is scared? They are the ones who usually kill the most. Them any opportunity to legitimize their evil plans against us. I build for the time I've been given to speak with you. I do not take it for granted. And I urge you as well to make sure that as possible, nothing is done itself. There are people that we've had disagreements with, but this is not politics. This is about our country and the kind of country we want to live for our children. I know a lot of you are young. My own days are largely behind me now. Don't let anyone in my own generation or even yours lead you to believe that there is a better place than Nigeria for you to be. If Nigeria wasn't, or even such a blessed place, some of us would have run away. But it's a blessed country. It's the ruiners that have made it a place to flee. It's your future. Please, I beg you in the name of God, stay peaceful, but making sure that nobody takes away your right to your country. You are no less than any man anywhere in the world. The Nigerian is not less than anyone. It is the ruiners of our country who have turned it into what it is. May God bless you all and be resolute. And don't let anybody divide you. We might have different demands, we might have different lists, but we all have one country. And that country must be rescued from these people, north, south, east, and west. Let's find the common purpose to build together. God bless you. I think I've said enough tonight. Let me allow you guys to enjoy the pleasure of each other's company. Thank you. God
Very
Much,
much.
sir.
Thank you
Thank you
very
very
much.
much.
Thank you.